Whether you're a scuba diver or not, you may have heard about Project Aware, a global movement for ocean protection powered by a community of adventurers. PADI field correspondent Ocean Allison talks with Jack Fishman, Project Aware's community conservation officer, and myself about the Coralpalooza Digital 2020 event and how we can bring marine conservation into our homes.
Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this portion of Coralpalooza Digital 2020. I am Ocean Allison. I'm a correspondent for PADI, the Professional Association of Diving Instructors. And I'm very excited to be here, and I'm excited to be joined by two friends and fellow ocean conservationists. We have Miss Roxane Boonstra, who is the dive and volunteer coordinator with Coral Restoration Foundation. She's got a lovely coral behind her. And we have Jack Fishman from Project Aware. He is the community conservation officer. So thank you both for joining me and setting this up, and I'm excited to talk.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Well, I do want to just say first, thanks to Roxane for being so instrumental in putting together Coralpalooza Digital 2020. For those of you that are watching this, you are obviously well aware that this year Coralpalooza is digital, and I'm really excited to be part of it. I know that PADI, with our mission of, seek adventure and save the ocean. So not only are we a global community of PADI divers passionate about going beneath the surface to explore the underwater world, but we are also as equally passionate about ocean conservation and saving the ocean. So we so support everything that Coral Restoration Foundation does in working to restore our coral reefs. And obviously we so support everything that Project Aware does as our sister organization. So I'm excited to be a part of Coralpalooza, even during this kind of strange time. It's an amazing event that you guys have set up. And yeah, I really just want to start off by asking you, I know we're going to get into Coralpalooza stuff, but I really want to start off by asking both of you actually the same question. How did your diving journey, so as a scuba diver, how did that journey transition or evolve into a passion for ocean conservation? And Roxane, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I grew up in the South Florida area, and instead of driving the hour north to South Beach, I always decided to drive the 2 hours south into the Keys. My parents took me snorkeling when I was 4 years old. I started taking scuba diving lessons when I was 10, so right at the edge when you were allowed to get certified. And I just always wanted to be a marine biologist. I fell in love with the ocean, and I followed that path and then became a dive instructor. So I kind of at CRF get to meld the best of education and diving and science together.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, Jack, same for you.
Absolutely. Very similar to Roxane's story. I started at a very young age. My family, besides the surname Fishman, I feel like has always been involved with the ocean. My father having been diving since the late 70s. And so growing up, I think he was a little bit impatient to throw me in the water, to say the least. So at a very young age, I was snorkeling. My parents would drop me off at this woman's house in the island of Bonaire, where they would go enjoy dive adventures. And this woman was a conservationist on the island who would take us snorkeling and identify fish. So I would always come back during dinner time sharing all these new species of fish I've learned, to my parents' chagrin. But among other things, some of the things that really kind of inspired that journey more than just this fun fact of mine of being a fisherman who scuba dives was being able to see the reefs change over many years in a single place. And the island of Bonaire, where we spent most of my childhood learning to dive and snorkel, I was noticing that the reef would change, or that the fish, or some of my favorite fish species that would come and greet us every year, would maybe not return the year after, or the corals that I knew and recognized as I'd be snorkeling around were not the same. And these are questions I didn't fully understand the answer to, but over the years, I started to ask the right questions, and those more questions led me to more experiences and more knowledge about how important it is to protect the underwater world and how much of an impact we humans have. So that journey led me to pursue my instructorship through PADI and the Florida Keys as well, where I also did most of my career level diving at Rainbow Reef Dive Center. And that journey alone just took me to connect with so many more passionate people. And I couldn't be more grateful to be able to share those years of experience. And of course, the passion that we all share for this underwater environment with divers across the globe now at Project Aware.
Oh, well, thank you both so much for sharing little bits of your personal journeys. I think it's always nice to hear, how someone makes that transition. And I think it's really just a natural evolution of go underwater and see what's going on, and you're going to care about care about what's going on and want to help. So that moves us into Coralpalooza, right? Anybody that's tuning into this obviously has a passion for corals and coral reefs. And thank you to all of you that are watching. We're very happy to have you. And I want to ask you, Roxane, since you are one of the main creators and coordinators of this whole event, for attendees that are tuning into this, what are some of the other highlights that they should most definitely be checking out in this digital version of Coralpalooza?
Great question. We really wanted something that could be good for everyone. People can come to this event who might not know anything about coral, and it's open to people who might be regular volunteers with us or even in the restoration field themselves. So we have a really big mix of science and coral experts who will be talking about coral spawning, also coral restoration programs around the world. So from Australia to Madagascar to the Philippines, a lot of different places. And on top of that, we'll also have some people from NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, as well as the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary, talking about upcoming projects. We'll have Captain Coral from our education department doing some shows, and we also have some other special guests that I can't quite mention. You're gonna have to keep watching to find out.
Awesome. Well, sounds like a great event. And again, thank you to everybody that's tuning in, whether you are just learning about coral reefs or you're a coral reef expert. It's great for all of us to be together, especially during this time. Jack, I know that we are having a kind of tandem Project Aware and PADI booth during Coralpalooza Digital 2020.
Yep.
What are some of the things that attendees can check out in our booth?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're excited to support in the sense that we've created a number of digital resources that better showcase for anyone just coming in from the outside to see how Project Aware has been tackling marine debris issues. For those who may be listening in, Project Aware's main focus centers around tackling marine debris issues and reporting that data over time and protecting critical shark and ray species. So among that, we share all of this love and passion with our dive community. So we're really excited to be working with the Coral Restoration Foundation, among other organizations. And in this, we'll talk about, some more better resources, better stories about how marine debris can affect coral species and situations like that, as well as certain courses and opportunities you can take during this time, especially with the digital resources that are so needed right now.
Yeah, definitely. So make sure you guys check out the PADI Project Aware booth for all that and more. Now, a big part of Coralpalooza every year has been to outplant a large number of corals out on the reefs, in that kind of 1 or 2 day period. And the last 2 years, so in 2018 and 2019, I had the chance, I think actually all three of us were there many of the years, to be at Coralpalooza in the Florida Keys and go out on the boats and help outplant these corals. I think last year there was something like 1,700 corals outplanted on the reefs in the Florida Keys in 1 day, which is just like totally amazing. And obviously things are a little bit different this year. There's not volunteers out there, but I know, Roxane, you told me that the CRF staff is going out actually and planting corals. So, on the day of Coralpalooza, as well as, maybe the last couple of weeks, what's the kind of vibe going out there, planting the corals? What are the CRF staff making happen even during this time?
We're really excited that our staff have been comfortable to go out diving. So we've been going out regularly as a dive team for the past couple months. For Coralpalooza 2020 this year, we're aiming, weather allowing, for at least 600 or 700 corals. But you'll have to tune into the live stream for the final count on June 6th. If the weather isn't good for our plans, then, we'll adapt and we'll have our team on land for interactive questions instead.
Wow. Awesome. Well, that is incredible if just the CRF staff themselves can plant 700 corals in 1 day, especially during this time. That is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun out there.
So, it's great to hear that the CRF staff is able to go out and plant these corals and help restore our reefs. some local diving around the world is starting to open up right now for people to safely dive, which, you know, PADI, Project Aware, I think everyone supports that, for people to be able to safely connect with the ocean physically again. But obviously for many around the world, many places, many people, it's not the case right now. It's still not safe or following local protocols to interact with the ocean. So Jack, I was hoping that you could touch on diving in the digital world, you know, with everything going on and, you know, even beyond, you know, what are some of the things from Project Aware, PADI's point of view, that people can do diving in the digital world?
Absolutely. I think just right now, I think this is a great time for reflection. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways is we've been either doing practices that have been continuing for years, or just the style of our diving ethics and so on. So I think a lot of dive centers that I've spoken to are taking this time especially to potentially look at the species interactions they've had. We at Project Aware have been in turn providing better resources to examples like this, like our Shark and Ray tourism guide, for operators to take a deeper dive per se in the types of interactions with special social distancing standards in mind of how to safely interact with many species in the underwater environment, to plan for the future, to make more educated trips and opportunities to gather resources from the scientific community, both from Project Aware and many of our partners, so that dive centers can actually come back offering trips with a little bit more value, taking this time to train their instructors, which I've seen just an absolute tremendous effort on many dive centers, taking more time, going outside the box, right? With free time comes this thirst for learning and more knowledge. And I'm just so excited to see more instructors taking this initiative. I know right now we're getting tons of inquiries about our Adopt a Dive Site program. As we go back into this new world or normal in adopting this kind of local attitude towards diving and really embracing our local communities, programs like the Adopt a Dive Site program are just perfect for bringing that more attention of conservation to what's happening right there at home. Whether it be adopting a freshwater quarry and being more involved with some municipalities who, of course, are those essential services all over the world taking care of us right now, and connecting with them and all the work they've been doing to better monitor the spread of marine debris in local communities, and then having more people, of course, being out in this new culture to participate in events and connecting them with local businesses like restaurants. It's an amazing effort, and Project Aware has been working tirelessly to provide as much education and updates on marine debris issues, including most recently this published paper that actually gets to show the success, both with our partnership with Ocean Conservancy and CSIRO, on the effects of marine debris and the disparity between land debris and ocean debris, which a lot in part has come from all of this data from so many efforts across the globe to bring this more awareness about how marine debris issues are affecting the ocean. So there's actually a lot of exciting things happening right now with this new paper being released to the public, and lots to share with the dive community very soon.
Yeah, it sounds great. And, you know, on top of all that, for anybody that's tuning into this that maybe is not already a scuba diver, you know, prior to COVID-19, as well as during now and even after, you can always sign up for a PADI open water diver course or others through our e-learning program, so you guys can start your diving journey now, even if you're not able to connect with the ocean. And Jack, it's so great to hear you say so many of the wonderful things in the diving world, even when, you know, things are a little bit different right now. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So Roxane, as the diving and volunteer coordinator, you not only like are always planning all of the diving and the outplanting and so much of what's going on with CRF, you're also in charge of all of the volunteers. So in terms of that, like we're talking about, you know, things are a little bit different right now. For those that are at home, or those that are maybe able to dive in their local area, maybe as we, you know, as time goes on, people are maybe able to, you know, travel or move to certain areas. How can people support the mission of CRF right now for Coralpalooza, beyond that, kind of in the different variables that there's a lot of variables going on, but how can people directly support CRF's mission of restoring coral reefs?
That's a great question. And like you just said, right now we're in such an unusual time. Our team here has been amazing, but we still rely on that massive, large scale action. So if anyone is local or non-local, we're still accepting and processing volunteer applications. Just because right now we are a little delayed in the training doesn't mean that we can't still talk to people and get them lined up for their interests. So that is definitely still ongoing. Our recreational dive programs will be opening back up as well. So people can join us in diving there too. And we'll be very aware of boat capacities and numbers and things like that. But our corals need to get back out on the reef and people need to get back in the water. Today at Coralpalooza, we're hoping that everybody learns something, whether again, they're coral expert or brand new to this, and sharing that information with their friends, their family, and whatever stranger you've just met on the street. One of the messages we really want to share is that it can be a little overwhelming. Yes, we're doing amazing work with restoration, but we have a big uphill battle to climb with local stressors and climate change. So it's really up to us to come together as a group. And whether it's something as small as saying no to a straw or as big as being able to switch to solar power or making a bigger move, it's up to each one of us to do that and to create a climate of change. And that's the way that we're all going to move forward for the safety and the preservation of coral reefs. So sharing this information is the most empowering way that people can help this mission.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That's such a great sentiment. And it actually really leads into my final question, which I think all three of us can touch on. I want to direct it to Jack, though, as our conservation officer from Project Aware. Conservation at home, right? It's my opinion that ocean conservation or any kind of conservation starts above the surface and below the surface, from the products we buy to the food that we eat to the way we power our lives and we move around the planet. From your perspective in Project Aware, what are some of the main ways that people can support ocean conservation and be a part of a solution, right? Like Roxane was saying, a climate of change, not climate change.
I love that.
What are some of those things that people can do from home?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone and both of you guys have said it very well. It really is all about the little things, right? Especially right now as we're kind of reflecting on ourselves and our daily lives and the kind of interactions we've had all this time to just stop, think, and act for a moment, as you might say in PADI. I think it just starts with the first moment is making sure, doing inventory of what you have around the home, right? Are you constantly using dishware, or do you find that you might have a number of plastic forks around that you just collected from various activities or who knows what? It's very common in our culture of gatherings to have this kind of disposable culture, and just taking the effort that, especially while you're now at home, you have this extra time to maybe, take that extra moment and wash these, the dishware reusable, whatever it might be, switching from just mindlessly grabbing that plastic fork because we know that might have been the easier thing to do, to taking the time to look at what kind of dishes you're using, right? Because of course you might be coming home to that, but in the past, now it's always in front of you because we're all here in our houses. So you do have this extra moment to reflect and visualize your kind of actions, to see how your trash is filling up now before as stepping away from it all day and just seeing what the most of your use is coming down to. I know a lot of people are using things like Amazon right now because there's important services and essential goods that we all need, especially from home. And certainly for those who are supporting local restaurants, we want you guys to continue to support those local businesses and take the action, but be mindful that if you're taking it home, the least you can do is refuse that single plasticware or the dishware that you might have. And when applicable, of course, take what you can, but you may not need the plastic bag because it might already be in a container. Those little steps, even though this new world is still ongoing and we're figuring it out, these are the things that will make the difference over time to ensure that we're staying safe, most importantly, with the decisions we're making, but also doing little things that will help add up so that trash doesn't fill up at the end of the month. And you might even have less dishes to do as well if you're playing your cards right. So I just think, not to overwhelm anyone, it's just about making conscious choices and being very mindful about your interactions both around your home and the local community.
Definitely. Well, thank you both so much for sharing your thoughts, sharing about Coralpalooza, how people can get involved in everything CRF, everything ocean conservation. You two are, and for sharing a little bit about your personal journeys. You two are both inspiring, and I'm happy to call you friends. And just again, for any attendees wanting to look for more information, you can check out coralrestorationfoundation.org. You can check out projectaware.org, and you can check out PADI.com. now and into the future, you will find so many resources at all three of those places for everything you need to know about exploring the ocean and helping the ocean. So definitely check those out. And yeah, thank you, Roxane and Jack, for inviting me to Coralpalooza again, even though it's a little bit different this year. It's such an amazing event, and thank you for having me. And thank you both for chatting with me and answering my questions.
Thank you, Allison and Jack. It was a pleasure, and I'll see you at your booth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Roxane and Allison. Thank you guys so much.
Bye, everybody.